Welcome to another edition of the panel here in Scottsdale, Arizona. Tony Brar here alongside Bob Stauffer and Jack Michaels. The Edmonton Oilers picking up 4 crucial divisional points over the weekend, Bob, and they did so after a lackluster effort last Thursday. What does it say about this club, Bob?
Well, we're a third of the way through the season, and I think we're starting to see something come together here. And there's are they an elite team? Are they a good team? I'd say they're a good team that right now kind of has it. They got something going on, and so obviously they've exceeded the expectations of many of the so-called experts out there. Dave Tippett's done a tremendous job of building a sense of team. You've number 2 ranked in power play in the NHL, number 2 ranked in penalty kill. Both goaltenders have split the duties so far. You got the 2 top scorers in the league, and now you're starting to see some support scoring on this road trip and some resiliency in the victory against Arizona. So there's this is a pretty intriguing time moving forward for the Oilers, and it's obviously been an excellent start to the year.
Well, I think a great team obviously means success in the postseason. Look, Tampa was a phenomenal team last year, but no one's going to remember that season because they were out in the first round and they didn't even get a playoff win. So let's pump the brakes on that because there's a long way to go in this season. But Bob's point, you start 8-4-1 and everyone's excited, 7-1, and then you tail off a little bit. But in the next 13 games segment, you actually slightly surpass that. You go 8-3-2. And coincidentally, it began with a shutout win over the New Jersey Devils in which Jujhar Khaira got a goal. And since then, he's tacked on 3 more. Marcus Granlund has scored 3 goals on this road trip. Guys are starting to contribute offensively. Guys are starting to put together games that contribute to team success. Guys like Riley Sheahan and Josh Archibald, even though they're not lighting up the score sheet, they're producing on the penalty kill. A penalty kill that, has wiped out 27 of 28 at one point. I mean, 27 in a row on this road trip, and the only goal they gave up was in garbage time against LA. So I think Edmonton is doing a lot of things well right now. On the PK, the power play, their first 13 games were good. Their last 13 games were good. As Bob said, the goaltending has been solid. It's not just a 2-man team. You don't go 16-7-3 with the best record in not only the division, but they've got the 3rd best record overall in the league. They've got the 3rd most points in the league. Granted, there's some teams with better winning percentages, but you don't do that if you got a 2-man team. The NHL is too good, not for 26 games.
And Jack, maybe just a further comment on that. When guys like Marcus Granlund and Jujhar Khaira are chipping in, what does that do for the top guys? It certainly probably puts a lot less pressure on them to perform every night, even though they have been.
Tony, you're in the room. You know how fired up they get. I mean, the way to get Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl not to shut up is start talking about their line mate, Zach Kassian, or start talking about the big goal by Marcus Granlund, or start talking about the tremendous saves by Mikko Koskinen early in the 3rd period of the game against Arizona that prevented the Coyotes from stretching that lead out to 4-2 and probably putting the game away at 1. So we're at a point now where the opposition makes one mistake. Rick Tocchet said it after the game last night. He said, we blew one coverage and it wound up in our net. And that's all Edmonton needs right now. And that's what the winning teams do. They're not always at the top of their game. They're just at the top of their game when they need to be.
I'll give another illustration of it, and I'm 100% with Jack. I mean, we know enough now about Connor and Leon that they're happier for the accomplishments of the other players and sharing in the success, and they'd much prefer talking about others. But how about Sam Gagner and Dave Tippett's handling of Sam Gagner? I mean, there's a guy that, Sam's played over 800 games in the league, and he's been a healthy scratch for a bunch of games, and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins goes out with a hand issue. And Gagner doesn't play further down the line. They're like, Sam, you've played some center. You're going to center the second line. And the line of Neil, Gagner, and Chason absolutely housed Arizona in their own barn last night. Like, they were all over them. They had all the possession time. And then Sam Gagner is on the ice in the 3-on-3 in overtime. And that's how you build, when you're sitting there and Dave Tippett's talking to the team and he's talking, we're going to need everybody. Well, there's an illustration of that because he's entrusting Gagner in that situation in overtime. So, it's an exciting time for Oilers fans. They deserve this, and it's great to see. And the best part about it is, they've got a lot of depth in defense coming with some young defensemen with Ethan Bear and Caleb Jones. We've seen him bounce back in games where he's had a tough first period and come on. So there's some good things going here moving forward.
Very quickly, Bob, 16-7-3 so far, 35 points to pace the Pacific Division. Usually hockey fans use the American Thanksgiving mark as the unofficial mark of seeing what the first set of the preview of the playoffs could be. Just maybe talk about that right now, where the Oilers stand in the Western Conference.
Well, I think in the next couple of months, what they got right now, they're going to be rolling with because I know I did have a chance to have a conversation with Ken Holland, and he mentioned on the record that things don't really heat up for another couple months, but the Oilers continue down this pace, and we're a team that's in a playoff spot. He will look to tinker a bit to try to maybe provide a little bit more support for the team. I'm with Jack. We still got to see how the next several games play out here, but they've banked some points, and again, some teams have it. And a sense of belief starts to transpire, and they've got two goaltenders that they can rely on, which is part of it. I mean, they're going to have to overcome the Nugent Hopkins injury, at least in the short term in Colorado. But it's going to be really intriguing to watch what happens moving forward.
Look at who Edmonton's beaten this year. I mean, they've gone on the road and won at Pittsburgh. They've gone on the road and won on Long Island. They've, at home, rallied from 2 goals down to beat the Washington Capitals. These are elite teams in the National Hockey League. I don't think the Oilers are going anywhere. I mean, I'm pumping the brakes on calling them a great team because we live in Edmonton. We know what great teams have done, and that's the postseason success. So you can't be a great team in the regular season, but you can build. And one of the things that I think Dave Tippett established on this road trip in terms of what kind of road trip he wanted to have is he started Riley Shan a couple games, just setting a tone. This is how we're going to play. You're not running us out of the building this time. We're going to shut you down. And, Marcus Granlund in the latter stages of the game against Vegas, just elevating guys in certain spots. Bob mentioned Sam Gagner, the goaltending duo, having the courage in your convictions to go right back to Mike Smith after a tough outing in Los Angeles. And these players have delivered for him. And the reason they've delivered for him is because Dave Tippett has asked them to deliver for them. He hasn't pigeonholed them. He hasn't put a guy on the fourth line and let him sit there. He hasn't let a guy sit in the press box and just kind of rot there. He's asked them, look, this is your role on this team. When I need you to produce. And thus far, Edmonton's past that.
And those players have delivered, helping the team go 3-1 so far on this road trip. Game number 5 of this road trip goes on Wednesday night. Jack and Bob will have the call from the Pepsi Center in Denver. As always, we'll have you covered right here on Oilers TV. For Jack and Bob, I'm Tony Brar signing off for the panel.